Okay, good morning, everybody. I did start the recording. Welcome to the QuickBooks webinar. I always do this for my sake, but today is October 20th, so this is part 3 of the 3-part beginner program online version. So if that's what you were looking for, you're in the right spot. Before we get started, I just want to make one quick announcement. We found out an exclusive offer for SBDC clients. I don't know if this would be relevant for you, but I'll offer it anyways and at least mention it to you. QuickBooks is offering 1 month free, then 50% off for 12 months for new QuickBooks Online customers. So if you're not an online customer now, I think you would qualify. If you're thinking about converting from online or desktop to online, that may be relevant to you, or you may know of somebody else that's considering online. Let them know. All they have to do is be an SBDC client, which is no obligation and no cost to them to do that. So by now you should have received the PowerPoint presentation. Ann sends that out so that you can take notes and follow along with her presentation. I'm Steve Schillig, the moderator, director of the SBDC, headquartered at Kent State, Tuscarawas. For those that are not familiar, we offer a host of services and assistance, including QuickBooks. Some of you have already taken Ann up on some of her direct assistance, but we have other areas of specialties. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me. We have muted everybody for the speaker's benefit. If you have questions, put it in the chat room and I'll do my best to respond. And Ann is really encourages you to do it before we go into another section so that we can answer your questions. So pleased to have on the call today Ann Sharp. If this is your first time, this is her 3rd online session, and we'll do the expert session starting next week, October 27th. So you'll want to be part of that if you want to continue the training. Ann is the founder of Excellent Admin. She finished both her bachelor's and master's degree from Walsh University, worked in accounting field for 10 years, been teaching QuickBooks for 4 years, and her specialty is in small businesses. And I mentioned she's an SBDC advisor, so she is available for direct assistance if you need it. So don't hesitate to reach out to either Ann or myself. This recorded session will be on our website probably sometime in the next week or so. Check to that if you missed it or want to go through this one more time. So at this point, I'd turn it over to Ann.
Hi guys, good morning. I hope everybody's doing really well this morning. We are going to cover quite a few things today, so I'll go slow, and I'm hoping that we have some questions as we're going through some of this. The first 2 weeks we've covered, the basics of getting comfortable with QuickBooks Online. And then we talked about how we link bank accounts and how we categorize expenses and create vendors. So today, with us actually reconciling accounts, we're going to kind of play into some of the stuff that we covered the 2 previous weeks. And then we also are going to talk about entering bills and paying bills and how that kind of plays into the bank account as well. And then we're also going to do some invoicing, learning how to mark them paid, making deposits with QuickBooks Online. We're going to match transactions. So I'll kind of show you guys what that is when we get in here. And then obviously to create and edit items. And this is more so if you use the invoicing feature, I want to make sure that you guys understand how you match everything so that you don't have duplicate income. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so let's get logged in. And we're going to do all the way from the steps from last week. I've downloaded already from the bank account of a client their transactions. So I'm going to go through the whole process of importing the information to actually get it in to, then we're going to categorize and match, which is one of the steps for today. And then obviously we're going to reconcile once those transactions are in there. So I'll show you the full picture. There it goes. Like, oh no, QuickBooks is not going to work today. The full picture of what you would do when you do this normally, when you import data or categorize data on a weekly basis, or you do it on a monthly basis. This is a client we do on a monthly basis. So actually, it's not very much. So it does look like maybe QuickBooks is trying to push an update with QuickBooks Online. So we'll probably get some of those areas and then it'll gets around this morning. This is common in web browsers. They usually send emails that say, hey, we're pushing an update, you know, those types of things. I may have gotten an email. I haven't been able to check all my emails this morning with being in and out last week. So we'll just play with it and obviously just expect some hiccups. But this is part of using this portal, so it's going to happen, okay? So let's do, we're going to work in muscular connection. This is the same person we were working with last week. And hopefully she's not, you know, she's not a massive folder, so it shouldn't be too hard to get it. So if you look in here in the banking tab, when this comes up, her bank accounts are linked, meaning that you can see them and they were linked at one point. And then she as an owner must have changed the password. And so they have warning exclamation points on them because the information's not pulling from the bank anymore. Now, I then tried to go ahead and use my username and password as she is business banking. So she created my own access so that she can control what me as a bookkeeper can see. And my username and password doesn't work because it wasn't the original accounts that are linked in here. So she would have to go back in here and resync everything. So if your clients are people that change their passwords every 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, which is good practice, then obviously they're going to have to be in here updating things. Because she went through some stuff personally, I didn't bug her with it. I just import the data manually and then categorize it. So she stays with this little exclamation point, but you can see that it updates every time I import data in here. So she knows that I'm still working on the file, even though it has the exclamation point. And even with my imported data, this number and this number still match, which is how you know that it reconciles and everything is looking good. So to go ahead and import data, we'll go up here to our little gear icon and we're going to go to import data.
And this is Steve. We're noticing a little breakup of your audio from time to time.
Okay, let me see. Okay, see if that gets better.
Sounds better already. So.
Okay. So from the gear icon to import data to banking data, then we get our load up screen. So I'm going to go ahead and hit browse. And then I have to find where I put that in. So I think it's under documents here. So these are the two downloads that I did. So now you see it shows here that it's going to import. And we'll hit next. And then because I've imported before, it shows the bank account here. And it is the right account. You can see 2675, 2675. It's telling me I might have some duplicates. That's okay. I'm going to hit next anyways. And that just may be because my date range is long, you know, more than a couple days. So I'm not super concerned about that. And then I'm also going to go ahead and import my other attachment here, which is her credit card. And again, it knows exactly where it's going. It's going to give me a warning again, no problem. And we'll hit next. So it gave me the warning that we have potential duplicate data. The duplicate data is going to sit in here until I actually categorize it. So I can just exclude something that isn't supposed to be in here, and it's not a big deal. So now let me go over here. I'm working on the other screen to pull up bank statements. So you guys won't see the bank statement. No big deal there, because you guys will get the point as we go through on how to categorize that. So. And then obviously we're looking for her. I'm looking at the month of September. I don't need to look at October yet because October is still happening. So if I look here, I have some transactions. So I'm going to filter these by date. So it looks like I had done part of September already. So she uses the Intuit payment solution. So it obviously knows that this is an expense to run the payment solution. So we're going to go ahead and hit add, and that'll put it in there. And then she took a payment from the payment solution, which is automatically a sale to them. So we did that. On the 17th, it looks like she paid the credit card. So this is transferring to the credit card. And then you can click credit card payment, and it, is adding all the transactions. So I'm going to go ahead and click through these. And I'm just spot checking to make sure that they're correct. And as you can see, she doesn't have a lot of diversity in here. This is her income account. She uses the credit card for all the expenses. And then she has one that sits here. So she did an ATM deposit. This is still a sale. This is cash she collected that she wants to put in for the business. So I'll go ahead and mark that for her. When you have things like this, only the person making the deposit is going to know. So she just emails me each month and lets me know how much cash she put in, so that I make sure that that's not her putting money in to keep the bank account moving. It's an sale. And that's important because you want to make sure that you follow along and pay attention to it. And then we'll keep clicking here. So then we have a check here that's in Ask My Accountant. Well, it's not going to go and Ask My Accountant. This is, I'm looking at her bank account. This is towpath, and this is actually her rent expense. So I'll recategorize that and then hit save. And so now it entered that one. This is again is another ATM deposit. So then this credit card, see how it says credit card payment here? Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. This is the same as a transfer or a match. So it recognizes that we imported data from the credit card. That is this dollar amount that also came out of the bank account. So you want to obviously click this so that it puts it over there. So we are into October. So we're going to go ahead and go into the bank register here, which shows all my credits that are in here. And when C becomes an R, it means it's reconciled. So we're going to go ahead and reconcile. And then it's going to reload my screen here. And when we reconcile our bank account, it's really important that we pay attention to like 5 or 6 details. The first one being the date of our reconciliation. So make sure that it's the closing date of your statement. This is important when it comes to credit cards. Credit cards don't usually close on the first of the month. So make sure that the 10th and the 10th you have that date properly. You also want to make sure the beginning balance is perfect. If the beginning balance is off, you won't be able to reconcile. It either means that something has been deleted or unchecked in your reconciliation, which is really challenging to pinpoint if the dollar amount doesn't match perfectly. It's more than one item that's the issue. And then you want to make sure that your ending balance is typed in properly so that you have the correct beginning balance when you go to do this next month. And then obviously making sure that in reconciliation, the difference you have is 0. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, all my transactions are checked and it matches, and you click reconcile and you have a discrepancy, and the discrepancies go on the profit and loss, which add as either an expense or a deposit, depending, which would throw off your bank account balance, which then could cause you to, bounce a check if you think you have more cash than you do have. So it's really important. So this is already telling me that we're off somehow. So let's click into here and see where we're off. And these are the 2 expenses that I deleted the last time. And click because this was for training purposes and we fixed this. So let's see here. So my ending balance here is 2997.76. My statement ended on the 1st of the month on the 30th. Okay. So now QuickBooks Online, different than QuickBooks Desktop, as it will do the reconciliation for you. If the transactions are in, it will automatically for you. So the statement and balance up here, again, is what you put on the first screen. This is clean. You should be able to see on your bank statement as well. So you can see my beginning balance was off a little bit, but these are the 2 transactions that it wanted. So once they are checked, it matches. You can see my total payment number and my total deposit number. And then obviously I have a difference of 0. Okay. Now, if this number says you're off a little bit, then you can select here to hit select all and see if that fixes the problem, or you can click it to unselect everything and then go through your bank statement and actually click the ones that matter. See how it's adjusting the number up here, and then obviously is highlighted here. That's going to show me that I should reconcile as we go down. And these are in date order right now by the date that they cleared the bank account. But if you want to filter by deposits and payments, you can do that very easily by just clicking it. And then it sorts by dollar amount so that you can find it. And we match. So what we'll do from here, obviously, is that we've cleared all of this stuff out. This is where you would tell if there were duplicate transactions, specifically if you filtered it by amount. So let me filter deposits here. So you have 2 $65 deposits, but they're not the same date and they're, within a week of each other. That's okay. Same here, hundreds, all different days. The 125s are all different days. So for her, she charges the same amount of money pending the service she's offering. So she has a lot of deposits for the same amount, but you want to make sure that you don't have 2 of them on the 14th or 2 of them on the 20th that are the exact same number. And QuickBooks Online, when it tries to help you with the reconciliation, will not check both of them. So it's important that you make sure that the one that you want checked, if you're importing data or manually entering data, is the one that's checked in the reconciliation. 0 and everything matches up. I'm going to go ahead and hit finish now. And it says you're done reconciling this account. So it's going to kick me back to the reconciliation where now I know that warning. My beginning balance again is still here. Okay. Up here we have summaries, history, and show me around. We're going to click on history here. This history shows me the changes that have been ever made on a bank reconciliation, and then obviously a report. So I can click view report, and this is going to show me the summary, and then it's also going to show me the detail. So everything that cleared this account and what it was. The numbers on here are clickable, so you can click into the transaction if you need to. I print this report and staple it to my bank statement. And the reason for that is if there's a discrepancy later, I have the detail to look back at it to see maybe what it was in that process. But I also know now that my books were reconciled, I have proof for a client if they ever needed it. And if your accountant at the end of the year thinks that something isn't right with the trial balance sheet and stuff, you have all the information you need. So I'm a big paper person. So I would print this, staple it to the bank statement, and keep it in a file for each client for their records. Okay. If you don't print it, it's okay. It's listed here in the history based on date that you do the reconciliation. So you're going to have it whether you do it now or do it later. And then you can undo a reconciliation from the history of account if it was something that you needed to change. So I don't think that we need to undo anything because it's perfect. But at the end of the year, if you're off at the beginning balance of the next month, you might have to undo the previous month and go back through it and figure out what was checked. If you notice it's still off in the beginning balance, then it's not that previous month. It could be any time during the year. But like I've told you guys before, QuickBooks does give you plenty of warnings when you're going to delete something to make sure that it's going to do. Okay, so let's go back over here to banking. We're going to look at the credit card now. So it matched right here, this credit card payment, but these are from August. In August, let's see when our credit card statement runs through. So we would be looking. So this statement closed 10/11. So we should have some September dates in here. We should not have any October dates in here. So let's look at, let me look at the previous statement here. And then let's look and see when this was reconciled last to make sure we didn't skip a month. Okay, so this was last reconciled 9/10, which was the previous statement. So we are on track to have this be reconciled for 10/11. So my new balance on my credit card was 146.55, and my ending date is 10/11, and my beginning balance is correct at 149.93. So let's start this reconciliation because it looks like we have some old transactions that are floating around that we need to exclude. So let's see what we have and then determine what we need to get, need to exclude out of QuickBooks because they're duplicates. Well,
And while you're waiting, it's not as often as earlier, but it does break up occasionally the audio. We're getting some
Okay.
interference.
Okay. Let's try going in here again. And Steve, it might be because I was on my cord. So let me know if it gets a little bit better. And I apologize for that, guys.
No worries. It sounds better already. So.
Okay. I looked down and realized my wheel was on my headphone cord. So let's try to do this reconciliation again. QuickBooks errored for us. So we're work through the errors. This is just part of using the platform sometimes. On a bright note, this does mean that they're making it better for us. So I get excited about that. So it looks like underneath the gray here, we have 2 charges in here already. So if I look at my statement, this charge is in here, this charge is in here. And then I'm gonna hit save for later so that I can go back to my banking tab here so that I can look and see what transactions we have sitting in here. So these ones from August all need to be excluded. We already have those in. And it looks like I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 transactions total. So let me go back in over here. And we're going to click on I'm going to export some more information here because it looks like we're missing a few things. And I'm going to see if we can't get the export to import the data correctly instead of having to manually enter it. And if we can't get it to do that, then what we'll do is put the manual entries in and we'll practice with that one. And let's see if I can get this one. Okay. So it does look like we'll be able to pull all of this data. And then let's go back up here to our little gear icon and we're going to import data again. And this is going to be banking data. And then we're also going to import the second one. So I'm using 2 imports for the credit card because she has 2 credit cards that bill to the same statement, but they have transactions on each card number. So I just make sure that we put them all on one card and then see if we can't get it to do what we need it to do here. You can do that when you do a manual import. When you're actually syncing it, you cannot put them on the same card. So keep that in mind as you are working through multiple users on multiple cards, okay? So now I've got a lot more going on here. So with this, now that we've synced the correct activities in here, you see where it realizes that on 9/17 out of the bank account, it got a payment and it wants you to match it. This is what it means by matching. So it obviously automatically realized that we had this. So I'm going to hit match on the couple that it knows we have. Shell is a gas station. So we put it under car and truck for her. And obviously it's not a couple dollars. So I know it's fuel and not her getting coffee or something like that. I don't want to create a rule right now because that stuff fluctuates with gas stations. Gecko's the same thing. You know, it's Giant Eagle's fuel place. I don't want to create a rule because you can get coffee and stuff there. This would be the definition of a duplicate. Same day, same vendor, same amount of money. So I'm going to only enter one of them. Same here. Here's a duplicate again. So I'm going to add only one of them. Same here. The duplicates are here again. So they're easy to spot on this screen specifically, but if for some reason you enter it in, you know, don't panic. We can delete it back out, and I'll show you because I think I actually entered one already, so no problem. QuickBooks, dues and subscriptions here. We only need one of those. Again, GetGo, duplicate here, only need one of those, and only need one of those. So these can all be excluded, meaning we don't need them so that we can make sure our credit card balance stays even. So let's go back to our register here. And it says we're off $73. So I can see on 9/15, here's 2 transactions here. And on 9/10, the same gas station, here's 2 transactions. And now we match. So for these transactions, I would click on them and click edit. More, delete. Are you sure you want to delete this? Yes. So now it's no longer in my bank account because it's a duplicate. Same with this one. I would click edit, more, delete, and that would get it out there. We still match. It didn't mess up our reconciliation. We'll go ahead and hit finish. Again, if you go into the history, here's my history of my reconciliation right here. And the 2 transactions that we deleted now are populated over here. So we want to select all and exclude them. That way they go over here and we don't accidentally put them in again. Okay.
Dan?
Yeah.
Are the duplicates a result of Intuit, or are we inputting them twice?
The duplicates are from the download. So because this credit card user has 2 credit card users using to one bank statement, to catch all the transactions, you have to download it from each card user on the platform. And so when you do that, it overlaps a little bit because it's trying to catch all the transactions. And so the manual import is what created the duplicates. It would happen with the syncing as well, though. If we go back over to banking and we look at the top, this credit card ending in 7058 and 7074 bill on the same statement. So if you imported, if this stayed synced, you would get duplicate data on this credit card and this credit card, and you wouldn't be able to reconcile without merging them together. Does that make sense, Steve?
It does. I was curious because I hear the word duplication often when you talk about online, and that's why I wondered.
Yep, and it's just and it warns you about duplication. The only other time you really have it is income with QuickBooks Online. The bank accounts don't usually do it. Even if you have multiple debit cards being used, you only have one bank statement. You only sync one thing. It's usually credit cards that are the issue. So it's either you manually enter half the transactions or you import the data and then wean through the duplicates. There's no right way to do it as long as it reconciles at the end of the day is the right thing to do. Okay. So that's how you do. We obviously practice it importing and then categorizing and matching, which is, following the categories down here. And then we did the reconciliation. Do we have any questions about doing that for bank accounts or credit cards? It's the same process, just depends on what you're working with.
No questions.
So now I'm going to go into entering bills. So if you go here, expenses.
And up until that point, you were very clear. You're back to a little bit of breaking up.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to expenses here. And it'll load for me, hopefully. I'm going to refresh the screen to try to get it to. There it goes. Okay. So we talked about last week creating a vendor and how the vendors play into actually paying and entering bills. Okay. So in QuickBooks Online, you have expenses and you have vendors. If you click into your vendor list, you'll see each vendor that you do business with, whether it's actually somebody like me, Excellent Admin here, who sends you a bill every month and you pay it, or if you're going to the gas station to get gas, you're going to be able to see that vendor. If you go into expenses, these are the charges not sorted by vendor. Okay. So what we would do here is you would click on new transaction on the little down arrow, and then you would go to bill, and it's going to open the bill screen. Now, you do not enter a bill for debit card transactions. Okay, I see this happen a lot where people are like, every charge through the bank account, I got to enter a bill and mark it paid. No, bills are people that give you physical invoices that you have payment terms with that you pay. Okay, it's not your Amazon Primes, it's not your dues and subscriptions, it's nothing along those lines that need to be put in the bills. This is designed to specifically print or handwrite checks and pay people. Okay, so for me, she pays me, so I'll go ahead and use my company here. So Excellent Admin, her bill is going to be due on November 10th. That's when she bills with me. It's due upon receipt. The bill number for me is 2005 is what invoice number we're at. And then this is going to go under professional services. And I always put in bookkeeping bill for November. And then put in a cost. Okay. So now you have options down here. Save and schedule payment. You can save and new, and you can save and close. So if you're entering a bunch of bills, I would hit save and new. And for training purposes, we'll enter another Excellent Admin bill. And we'll do that. This would be December 10th bill, and say she's 3,005 for this one. It's auto filled in the information from last time. It does remember that this is what it is, and I can hit save and close. Okay. So now we've entered a couple bills in here. You can see they're at the top of the list here because it's filtered by date, which is really important. Now, if you click on print checks and you go down to pay bills, it's going to show the two bills that we put in to pay the bills. So you can click them and it's going to tell me there's no credit on the account, the payment amount, and then your current account balance minus this, and your new account balance would be this. Okay. So it's automatically going to go ahead and put them into your bank ledger. So what we'll do is I'll flip this to October 10th was the payment date. And I'm going to go ahead and save and close. I don't need to print. I'm going to hit yes. It doesn't matter about that for right now. And if I go over into the banking tab and I click on this one, there should be right here. See how it says Excellent Admin and we paid a bill and it wants to match it. The answer is yes, this is correct because of the way I just set that up. So if you pay bills through QuickBooks Online and then the check clears out of the bank account, the software is going to recognize the check number and the dollar amount and relatively when it was supposed to be due and tell you to match the transaction so that you don't have duplicate payments in here either. So it's really important that you do that. Now, if you notice one is in here and it isn't categorized correctly and it is supposed to be matched, you can click on this and go to find a match, and it will open another screen where you can match deposits, or you can match to invoices, you can match payments pending what you have available. Okay. She doesn't use QuickBooks for invoicing because she uses their payment solution for invoicing. So there wouldn't be anything to match in here, but you do have the ability to override it and match the transaction. Okay. So let's expenses where we were. And I'm going to click the refresh button and see if I can't get it to push the area through. And it gave me an error, so we'll reload. And this is how you know it's not us that have in the air, like it's not the internet, it's their portal pushing an update through. They try to do them at night most of the time, so bear with it. This is just a bad example at the moment.
And do they forewarn you when they're doing these updates so that you can work around them, or?
Sometimes I do get emails that tell me that they're going to do something. Sometimes you don't. And then sometimes it just depends on the time of the year. It just gets kind of bogged. This should be not one of those times a year. You're talking like January when everybody's trying to print 1099s and W-2s and pull financials for CPAs. I don't know why it's acting like this today. I'm going to try logging out and logging back in. It's crazy because it was totally fine yesterday when I was in here finishing the PowerPoint. I'm gonna, Steve, since it's not playing, I'm gonna pull the PowerPoint because of the screenshots in case we can't get this to load. see if it'll sign us in. No, okay. So let me get this PowerPoint shifted over here. Can you guys see the PowerPoint now?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
And you're still breaking up infrequently, but you are breaking up.
Okay. How about that? Can you see it now?
Not yet. Still seeing the QuickBooks. Did we lose you?
Oh, here.
Oh.
Okay. Can you see the QuickBooks PowerPoint?
No, not yet.
Keep
You want me
off and jump back on. Maybe I need to reboot my computer.
I was going to say, do you want me to see if I can share it?
Yeah, if you want to try to share it, I just want to make sure people can see it. And I apologize. I don't know why we can't seem to get QuickBooks Online to cooperate today.
Are you seeing it?
There it is. Perfect.
What? Mine's flashing. Yeah. That's a little better. What screen, what slide should I be on?
So why don't we do, we're back to bills. So you're in invoices here. So I would say get it down to, what slide is this one?
Entering bills, 14.
Yes, there you go.
I'm wondering if it's flashing. Deanna, can you send me a text? I hate to get off the screen. Is it flashing for you, Ann?
It is, yeah.
Apologize to the attendees. I'm not sure what's going on. Deanna thinks we may have a server issue, and that might be why you can't get on QuickBooks as well.
Okay. It does look like QuickBooks Online is back up.
Okay.
So I'm going to take back the screen, Steve.
Okay.
Okay, guys, can you see the screen again?
Yes.
Okay, so it came back. Usually it's just a little bit, I apologize that it is a little funky today, guys. So back to the bills. So we obviously paid one already here. So see where this one says scheduled payments. This one says that it's already been paid. You can copy it, you can delete it, you can edit it. If you want to schedule a payment, you can mark it as paid, you can viewed, copy, delete it. Okay. Up here, if I hit pay bills again, now I have one bill in my list here. I'm going to go ahead and mark this one as paid. I'm going to backdate him out to November, which is when he will get paid. And then I'm going to go ahead and save and print so that we can see what it looks like to print one. So this is where what type of checks matter with QuickBooks. You can print a voucher copy, which is one that has the check at the top, and then 2 payment vouchers, one which goes with the check so somebody knows what you're paying them for, and the other one gets stapled to the bill so that you keep it in-house and you can go, okay, so I paid this bill with check number, blah, 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 on whatever date, and, you know, it cleared my bank account on X date, okay? You also can do the 3 checks per page. These are just normal size pieces of paper. So it's an 8.5 by 11, fits in everybody's printer. They're just check paper that you can order on Vistaprint, inexpensive. If you do this one, you don't send a payment voucher. So I always encourage people to use their memo line. And then you can go ahead and preview, print sample, and then you can go, I'm finished, you know, let's go ahead and print this. Preview and print, and then it wants a starting check number, so make sure that this matches whatever check number you're putting in the printer, and then preview and print. And this is what it looks like. So it's designed to print on a normal check, okay? And it shows the date you did it, it's for, you know, everything like that, and then which account it came out of, depending on what your checks say. So where it says excellent admin here, if I had entered in an address, you could see a whole address here, and then you can mail it in just the check form in an envelope that fit your checks. I'm gonna hit close because there's no need to do that. When you're done printing, it's gonna say, did they print correctly? Yes or no. If no, then you need to reprint them again. And that could be that you had your checks fitted, you know, put in wrong and they printed upside down. It could be that you know, one check was short and so it printed on normal paper, and knowing those types of things, and you can reprint and change it. I'm going to say they all printed correctly so that we don't have to worry about it. And then it'll clear this screen from print checks, and again puts it in my bank register so that you can see that it's in the bank account. And then when it clears on November 10th, it'll match that transaction because it's the same dollar amount to the same vendor. Okay, and now this one shows it was paid as well. So now in here you have a bill payment check that is next to the other two. So you can see that they were taken care of, okay? And if these are dated the same date like these two are, they'll be back to back. This one was dated in October, so it wouldn't be next to the December one because it's not doesn't match those dates, okay? So we've now entered a bill and we've marked the bill paid and kind of redirected it back to how it plays into the bank account. And so you know what you're doing and you kind of know what type of bills to put in here. The ones you're physically for, not ones that are billing directly out of the bank account, not when you go to the gas station, really not when you pay probably a Vistaprint, but if you pay a print shop, like a Copycat Graphics or something like that, then you obviously would need to pay them and write a check to them, pay an invoice. Utilities can go in there as bill pays because you would send checks to them, whether it's through a bill pay portal or a physical check, or you get online and pay it. You can do those. And you don't have to use it at all if you don't want to. That's a preference on you guys. I don't use the bill by bills because I use everything to come out of the bank account and I can categorize it just the same. But if I paid more people by check, I would use the bill pay portal so that I don't have to enter all the checks manually when it comes time to reconcile the bank account or categorize everything. If I had already done it this way, I would save myself that work later. You're still doing the work regardless, but it's just a matter of when you do it. Do we have any questions about entering bills or paying bills? Obviously, we went over printing them. You don't have to print them if you don't want to.
No questions.
Okay. So then let's go over here to create an invoice. So this is going to be under sales and then invoices. She doesn't use the invoice feature, so we're going to do our first invoice, which is going to teach us all the other things we kind of want to talk about today. So she's going to create an invoice for me. Now it won't let her create an invoice to the same name because one's a vendor and or an employee and then a customer. So I'll have to do the full legal name so that I'll add the customer. Did I do it? No. Let's just do it this way. Okay, so it's not going to let me add a customer this way. So let's go in here to customers. Okay, so it did actually create my customer here, so that's good. So then what we'll do is you can, from customer, I wanted to create an invoice. This will take us to the same screen that we would have been at if we were in invoice, even though it wouldn't let me put the customer here. You can have an email address for a customer. That way they get the invoice. So I'm going to send the email to myself and I'll show you guys what it looks like so you know what your customers are seeing. An expert towards, I think, the last class, we talk about how you customize invoices a little bit more. So you'll see what it looks like now, and then if we want to make changes to it. In here, you can add billing address. Okay, my terms. So my invoice date is obviously going to be today. And then this would be, she doesn't use this. She doesn't have any product services. So but she's a massotherapist. So we're going to say she does muscle relief. This is going to be a service. The category is just going to go into sales. The income account is sales. That doesn't have to have a category. And then this can be client adjustment. So I'll hit save and close. So now we've created an item, which we'll go more in detail with at the end on how you can create them a different way and edit them. So bear with me. So what you see is the client information, the email address, the ability to tell them how you want to pay. What the client sees is the billing information and the terms and the date. You see the product and service. The client sees the description and the cost. Okay. And then again, you can write a message down here that says, thanks for your business. And they will see that. And then you will hit save and send. It's going to say it's coming from their QuickBooks. It's going to say whatever invoice number. It's going to give you an idea of what it looks like. So I'm going to hit send and close again. And then let me pull up my email address over here. And I'm going to shift us here. And then if we go to inbox, it should be. Well, apparently it didn't email to me either. Okay, so let's go back over here. Let's see if we can't figure out. So under here, I can send a reminder where it'll email. Make sure I spelled my own email right. I did. So, okay, so it'll hopefully we'll wait a little bit. I won't dwell on my email because I obviously am not paying attention to it while we're doing this. But if it pops up, I'll make sure that I can show you guys what it looks like. But you do have the ability to do that. Send reminders. You can create a statement. You can do another invoice for this customer. And then obviously you can receive a payment against this customer. You know, you can do it however it was where it's deposited, what type of payment it was, you know, anything like that. And then you don't have to, so I'm going to create another invoice here. You don't have to email it. You can print these the old fashioned way. You can stick them in an envelope and mail them. That's more of a preference up to you. You can just save it to save and close. And you can send them a link. So you have a couple options. It doesn't have to be emailed. QuickBooks Online, the whole idea of it is that it's streamlined and, you know, on the go. So you can do all of those things, but you don't have to. So that's more something you guys get to discuss. Okay, so then that's entering an invoice. Now let's talk about how we deal with it when it's open. Okay, so if you click over here to the open invoice and you go to, let's go here to invoices. Let's flip the screen over. Okay, you can send reminders, link it, print it. Okay, let's look at the view and edit. This will give you an idea of what your invoice looks like. Let's do the print preview. So this is what your customer sees. And this is a generic template. And like I said, we can change this later. So you could print it from here. You could download it to a PDF. You know, if you notice that the invoice didn't go out, like I still haven't gotten it in my email. So that tells me that anybody that emails invoices today might have some issues with some of the updates going on. From here, you can also delete it, void it, copy it. You know, you can track the audit history. So as you are going back to square one, you have a user that created it. You can see all of this. Okay. And then you can make it reoccurring. So if you have invoices that hit every month that, you know, like for a car payment would be a good one. You know, you have to pay your car payment every month. You could do that on here. If you do dues and subscriptions, meaning like I charge flat fees per month. It's the same price each month. You could put that on here as well. And then you have your print preview, and then you have your customization, which is how you can edit the style. We'll talk about that later. Now you can change any of this stuff. So if I decided to take the email address out, you could hit save and close, and it's going to recognize that I made an edit to it, and I can hit continue. Again, it shows I edited it in our audit trail. And then that it's due in a days, and it tells me that it was sent. because I did try to send it. So you have some tracking here, which is great. So then to receive a payment, you would go in here, you can find an invoice number if you have more than one for that person. My payment method here is going to be check. We're going to say it's 100. The only bank account that is in here is this. And then I'm going to hit save and close. Now it's been deposited. And if you go over here to banking, it's right here where it recognizes she had another payment she took for $50. Recognize it and it's ready to match. So you can spell out mark invoices.
You're garbling up a little bit, Ian.
Okay, so you guys mark more than one invoice paid, then go to the bank.
And you're breaking up.
Is that better?
Go ahead and I'll listen.
Okay. Go to the
No,
bank.
you're still breaking up. We're not hearing you at all now. Ann?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. So if you do a deposit, say you got 6 clients and you go to the bank and you put them all in as one deposit, but you have to mark 6 individual invoices as paid. That's when you would click on this and hit find match to mark those 6 invoices that would total that dollar amount. QuickBooks will try to select the right ones, but may not always be right. So you always want to double check that to make sure that it's matching properly. So that's how you make sure that your bank account deposits match with the invoices that are paid. On here, it's not about making the deposit, it's about finding it that's synced and then finding the match in here to the deposit. Okay. Do we have any questions about entering bills, marking the paid, or how it streamlines into the bank account, and how to create an invoice, mark an invoice paid, and how it syncs into the bank account?
Not seeing any questions.
Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about goes into the invoicing as well, and this goes into the items. So you have lists inside of QuickBooks. One is your chart of accounts, which we talked about on day 1, and the other one is your item list. The item list is your products and services that you sell. So this could be an inventory part, a non-inventory part, a service industry good, and so on. So if you go up in here into sales, you have a tab here called product and services. So she has 3 things in here right now. The one we created today, she bills for hours, and then she has a generic one called sales. Okay. Now you can import a list of them if you've been tracking them in Excel based on whatever you're doing, or you can just enter a new one. Okay. And this brings up the side wizard. So we're going to do a non-inventory part to do something different. And we're going to call it payroll fee for me. There's no SKU, but if you do a lot of individual piecing to build your product, so if you build watches, you're going to have little beads and little plates and batteries, and they might have a SKU code so you know exactly what it is. They might have a category. You can add whatever you want in category. I'm not going to add one. The description is what the client sees on the invoice. So I'm going to do payroll processing fee. This is not a flat price, varies based on the number of employees for me specifically. So if it's, you're selling a battery and the battery costs you $4, your price might be $5.50. So you mark it up to make some money on it, which you guys should do if you don't. And so that might be a flat pricing. If you sell per square footage, then your quantity number is going to be your square footage, and you can do pricing that way. And then instead of just being income, this might be, I want to know what is my other source of income. So I'm creating another one. Type of payroll, and I hit save and close, and then as soon as this closes, should be able to like our item that we're creating. For income accounts, I'm going to select one and hit save and close. Something, let's see if I can get it to. Okay, so then it populated us back out here to where you can see a payroll, what type, non-inventory, the description, and everything like that. Now, if you get to where you're not using these anymore, you can make them inactive so that they come out of your list. You can run a report on an individual item. You can edit it to change verbiage or add a description. So if you forget that that's what the client sees, you can make sure to do that. If your pricing changes, feel free to add in different pricing and go from there. So you have that ability, save and close. It populates you back out here. You can also manage categories. You can, if you have a huge list of them, you can search them. You have a lot of features in here, but everything you put in here is going to be on the invoice. And if it's not here and you try to add it to the invoice, then it's going to create an item like we did when we added the customer stuff in order for you to see it. Let's see here. If I click on, let me go back. In here, you can change what you see on the columns. You can see the group. You can show more options, however you want to see it. Filter, right now it's set to active. If you show apply all, you'll still see my inactive where you see it says deleted. That's how you know it's inactive. If you needed to flip it back on, you can turn it back on. So you have a lot of features to keep this clean over here based on what you're trying to categorize for income. So the product that you're selling is income. When you buy it, it's an expense or a cost of goods. And this is where people get really confused. I'll use construction as the best industry. You're going to have a material income for what the client paid you for material, and then you're going to have a cost of goods sold as a material expense for the material cost you paid. And you want this way because you want to know that your material income is bigger than what you spent in material cost to know that your pricing is done properly. But people always think they should be in the same bucket. No, you want to see them separate. everything you're billing out to a client is income, and then you have a secondary account that's going to be the expense. So you need to, for material income, it would say material income, and then for material expense, I just say material. You need to make sure that they're not the same name, exactly the same name, so that when you're entering stuff, you pick the proper account. Okay. Now I finally actually get that email. So let me flip you guys over to this screen here. Can you see email, Steve?
Not yet.
Okay. Try that one. So on here, you can see what it looks like from Muscular Connection. They put in information.
We're still not seeing it, Ann.
Oh, you still can't see it?
Yeah.
Here. Okay, how about now?
No.
Huh. Well, I QuickBooks.
What's that?
Can you see the QuickBooks
No,
online?
not seeing
Yes.
anything.
Okay.
Something. You're back to the QuickBooks screen.
Okay. What about this one? If I hit refresh here.
Yes, you're going into your Windows or
Okay.
your Outlook.
Outlook. Okay, so let me let this load. I must have just needed to refresh the screens. So I did get both emails that we tried to send. And then it's an attachment here where you can download it. You have, your whatever the generic saying is here. It shows the due date, the dollar amount, and print and save. And if you give them the ability to pay it through your portal, this will say pay now. You get a button that says print, save, pay now. And then they can click on it and go from there. But it does show that. And again, it says print and save. And so this is what the email would look like if you email invoices out to clients. And again, we're going to click print and save. It's already been paid because we did that already. So if somebody is like, well, I can't find your invoice, I have multiple invoices, they can click on it. They'll still be able to view the invoice, and then they can view that it was paid.
So some are not seeing what we're seeing, what I'm seeing. So I'm not sure where the glitch is.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, are you back to QuickBooks?
Yes.
Okay. So guys, so then that's how you create and edit an item, and then how it plays into the invoices, which play into the bank account, which plays into the bank rec, which plays into the bill pays. So I want to make sure that we have that and understand that this is like the crucial part to make sure that there are not duplicate transactions. This is how we make sure that the bank balance is accurate. It's also how we make sure that we don't miss anything, that checks don't get deposited twice. You know, sometimes it's banks errors happen, especially with mobile deposit. I see it a little bit more now, where somebody will mobile deposit something, forgot they mobile deposit it, and will try to deposit it again. The system will catch it. It just takes it a day or two. So, you know, just making sure that you see those transactions coming through properly. And that's everything I had planned to cover today, which is probably good with some of the QuickBooks Online updates they must be trying to push through, which made today a little bit more, guys, so I apologize. Next week, we're going to cover how you can see more auditing with what transactions are entered. We're going to talk about journal entries. We're going to dive into rules, which ones you create, why, and how you edit them once they're created. We're going to dive into memorized transactions, which is going to be a big thing that saves a lot of time. Memorized transactions actually is better than entering bills in a lot of areas. So you guys will be excited to see that. And we're obviously going to talk about editing those as well, because, you know, you create a memorized transaction because a fixed amount comes out like a car payment, but the principal and interest change each month in that. And so you have to know how to edit a memorized transaction. Journal entries are really important. A lot of times I save those for accountants at the end of the year for any adjustments, but there is a time and a place for journal entries. So we'll talk about those. And then again, we'll see how this all plays into the accounts you're working with. And obviously it'll go backwards with some of the stuff we covered today and previous weeks as we go into the expert level. So I'm going to leave the floor opened up to any questions or final things for today. And then Steve, I don't know if you have any other announcements.
No, other than like you, I would apologize for the technical glitches. This was our sixth virtual class, and this is the only one that I remember that we've had these kind of challenges. So we'll certainly work on them before we get together next week. But thanks for your patience today. And again, a reminder, Ann is available for direct questions outside of the class, so don't hesitate to reach out to her. So. Yes, Deanna brought up a good point. She said, can we review the last part of this session at the beginning of the next workshop because of the technical difficulties?
Yes, we can absolutely do that.
Okay, and we'll stay on for a few minutes if there are any questions. It's the first time that we had a series of verbal interruptions. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if something's funky going on with our internet here. I'm in the same office I've been at for all the classes because it's quiet. So it's kind of crazy. But I am going to reboot a few things, obviously, and make sure that we're rebooted before we jump on next on Thursday to make sure